Well, if you only knew how little I really know about the things that matter. Each of us is like a moon that shows only a few facets to Earth, but never its full sphere. When you least expect it, nature has cunning ways of finding our weakest spot. If there is any truth in the world, it lies when I'm with you, and if I find the courage to speak my truth to you one day, remind me to light a candle in thanksgiving at every altar in Rome. Something that was mine was in his mouth, more his than mine now. I don't know what happened to me at that moment as I kept staring at him, but suddenly, I had a fierce urge to cry, and rather than fight it, as with orgasm, I simply let myself go, if only to show him something equally private about me as well. I reached for him and muffled my sobs against his shoulder. I was crying because no stranger had ever been so kind or gone so far for me. I was crying because I'd never known so much gratitude and there was no other way to show it. Most of us can't help but live as though we've got two lives to live, one is the mock-up, the other the finished version, and then there are all those versions in between. Time makes us sentimental. Perhaps, in the end, it is because of time that we suffer. Whatever happens between us, Elio, I just want you to know. Don't ever say you didn't know. I suddenly realized that we were on borrowed time, that time is always borrowed, and that the lending agency exacts its premium precisely when we are least prepared to pay and need to borrow more. People who read are hiders. They hide who they are. People who hide don't always like who they are. The Cosmic Fragments by Heraclitus. The meaning of the river flowing is not that all things are changing so that we cannot encounter them twice, but that some things stay the same only by changing. Right now there's sorrow. I don't envy the pain. But I envy you the pain. We rip out so much of ourselves to be cured of things faster than we should that we go bankrupt by the age of 30 and have less to offer each time we start with someone new. But to feel nothing so as not to feel anything, what a waste. Right now you may not want to feel anything. Maybe you never wanted to feel anything. And maybe it's not to me you'll want to speak about these things. But feel something you obviously did. We belonged to each other, but had lived so far apart that we belong to others now. Please don't avoid me. It kills me. I can't stand thinking you hate me. Your silence is killing me. I'd sooner die than know you hate me. He came. He left. Nothing else had changed. I had not changed. The world hadn't changed. Yet nothing would be the same. All that remains is dream-making and strange remembrance. We had the stars, you and I, and this is given once only. I believe with every cell in my body that every cell in yours must never, die, and if it does have to die, let it die inside my body. We may never speak about this again. But I hope you'll never hold it against me that we did. I will have been a terrible father if, one day, you'd want to speak to me and felt that the door was shut or not sufficiently open. How wonderful, to walk half drunk with a lemon soda on a muggy night like this around the gleaming slate cobblestones of Rome with someone's arm around me. And on that evening when we grow older still we'll speak about these two young men as though they were two strangers we met on the train and whom we admire and want to help along. And we'll want to call it envy, because to call it regret would break our hearts. I watched him put the peach in his mouth and slowly begin to eat it, staring at me so intensely that I thought even lovemaking didn't go so far. I could tell he was tasting it at that very instant. I may have come close, but I never had what you had. Something always held me back or stood in the way. How you live your life is your business. But remember, our hearts and our bodies are given to us only once. I'm not wise at all. I told you, I know nothing. I know books, and I know how to string words together. It doesn't mean I know how to speak about the things that matter most to me. Smells and sounds I'd grown up with and known every year of my life until then, but that had suddenly turned on me and acquired an inflection forever colored by the events of that summer. But there's only one, and before you know it, your heart is worn out, and, as for your body, there comes a point when no one looks at it, much less wants to come near it. Right now there's sorrow. I don't envy the pain. What I didn't realize was that wanting to test desire is nothing more than a ruse to get what we want without admitting that we want it. What had been in my head for so long would now be out in the real world, no longer afloat in my forever land of ambiguities. Perhaps we were friends first and lovers second. But then perhaps this is what lovers are. I had never been able to admit to myself how happy Oliver had made me the day he'd swallowed my peach. Of course, it had moved me, but it had flattered me as well.